Okay everybody, today we're going to jump right in for our Color Sunday video, and I decided that I was going to do more of a technique with this coloring. But first what we're going to do is actually get our paper set up. We're going to be using this Concord and Nice Thankful stamp set. I love this leaf and the detail in it, so we're going to emboss it on this black paper that I've cut down to 4 by 5 1/4, and I'm just using the EK Success powder tool to make sure that the embossing powder doesn't stick anywhere we don't want it to. So we're just going to ink it up with some Versamark ink, and we're going to stamp it 2 times. And I like to make sure it gets nice and inked because I want to make sure that the embossing powder sticks really well, because there's a lot of detail in this stamp. And then we're going to ink it up one more time and then stamp it again. And I'm stamping it just on an angle because down on the bottom right hand side in that open space I'm going to put the sentiment. Now once we stamped it with the Versamark, I'm going to move the piercing mat and we're going to sprinkle on, I'm using the Ranger Detail Black. So all we do is, make sure you cover your entire image, and then I'm just putting the embossing powder right back into the container. And then we're going to do the same thing with our second piece. And I'm doing 2 only because the amount of coloring we're about to do with our special technique, it's not going to take long to do that with this image. So that's why I decided to do 2 at the same time. So once I got it covered, I'm just going to get the embossing powder moved out of the way, so that way, I don't wind up melting it by accident or spilling it. And we're just going to grab our heating tool. So at this point, I put away my embossing powder and I'm reaching for my heat tool, which, you always have to heat up first to minimize the warping. I'm still going to have some warping with these only because of the painting I'm going to do, because this isn't obviously watercolor paper. This is just some thin black paper that I have that's going to work really well with the technique we're going to do. I have it kind of off to the side at the top of the screen, but you can't fully see what we're going to be doing, but you'll see in a little bit here. We're just trying to melt all the embossing powder, so that way it'll create little wells for the liquid that we're going to be using to paint with. Okay, so once I get everything heated, I like to grab my microfiber cloth and just rub away all of that powder that we had left on the paper. And then do the same thing with the second one. And then once we're done doing that, we're going to go ahead and open up the jar and get started. And what we're going to be doing is the bleaching technique. And the bleaching technique, it works really well with dark color papers. So you can use reds, blues, browns, greens. My favorite is to use black. And all you do is dip it into your bleach. Make sure it's fresh. And then you just paint on the subject or the object, whatever it is you're coloring in. And all the places where the bleach is hitting is going to lighten the paper. And once you get like your first layer, I like to do more than 1 layer of the bleach. I'll put it down and then I'll grab my heating tool again, and when you heat it, it lightens it up quicker because it's, forcing it to dry. And then I always go back through again, depending on how light I want it. If I want it to stay a little bit darker, then I just let it dry naturally. But what I was showing you with the water brush here, I don't put my bleach in the bottle. Okay, you know how you fill it up with water normally? I don't do that with the bleach. I keep one separate where I've labeled bleach, so that way it doesn't get mixed in with any of my other brushes. And I find that since I started doing this, I've used the same water brush, and the bristles are fine, everything's fine. I think if I put it inside the bottle, it would wind up deteriorating after a while. But you can see here, just using that heat tool, how light those leaves got in just a matter of seconds. And then I'm going to go back through with one more pass with the bleach to lighten it some more. And I thought about doing the splatter with the bleach, but here's the deal. You gotta work smart, okay? I didn't want the bleach getting onto my craft mat that's underneath. And with splatter, you can control it to an extent, but it still kind of gets everywhere. So for reasons that I don't want to have to buy a whole nother mat because I bleached it, I didn't do the splatter with the bleach itself. So I grabbed some of my Starry watercolors from Ganzai Tombi, and I also grabbed some white, it's my Copic opaque white, to do splattering, okay? And it's just enough. I try not to go too crazy with it, but just to give it, you know, a little bit of a pop, you know. And here are two card fronts really that are complete and done. All I would have to do is create a card base, and I have two thank you cards, basically, you know what I mean? And it was super quick and simple. And I really do, if you have the time and good ventilation, you should definitely try this bleach technique, because you get impact right away as soon as you start putting it down on your paper, and it's such a cool effect. It really is. So just get you some bleach, you know, a brush or a paintbrush that you want to use that you can keep separate, and go ahead and try this technique. Okay, I totally suggest it. Have fun. Use all the colors in, you know, your collection. You could do it on orange paper. It doesn't matter, as long as, you know, don't do it on white. You could do it on white, but I think the darker colors are where you get your best results. Thank you guys so much for joining me today. Make sure you hit the like, subscribe, and share button. And at the very end of this video, we will have links to our previous Color Sunday videos. And then I will see you guys again. I think the next one coming up is going to be a video for Scrapbooking with Me Boutique, which will be this Tuesday. So keep an eye out. Thanks again, you guys, and have a great day.